in flux. Aaron Rodgers, he visited the Steelers facility for nearly 6 hours. That was back on March 21st. Few details have emerged from the visit, but the team's current quarterback depth chart includes Mason Rudolph, Skylar Thompson. Here is Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin spoke moments ago at the NFL League meeting in Florida.
He's a free agent. As you guys know, he came to visit last Friday. We had a really productive day. He's been in this thing a long time. I've been in this thing a long time. But it's no substitute for, intimacy and spending time together and getting to know one another in a non-competitive environment. And so that was really good. But I don't have any new updates in terms of where the process is. We'll see where it leads us.
Is it your impression whether he actually intends to play and it's right team, right situation, or is that still to be decided?
I'm certainly not going to put words in his mouth or speak for him.
So that's Mike Tomlin there. Tim Hasselbeck joins us. Give me your thoughts here.
I just wanted to throw my man my handkerchief, man. Like, just disrespectful, man. Get the man something to drink or something. Man, Aaron Rodgers will do that to you, man.
Make you sweat like that?
Man, make you sweat.
Early in the morning, too. Early in the morning.
And what's surprising is the people in the back had a coat on. So I'm like, man, that's just some Aaron Rodgers effect right there. But it's all right, Tomlin. It's going to be okay, man.
What was your first thoughts when you hearing what he said?
I mean, it's just tough, right? Because they're trying to respect his privacy, but they also have to move forward as an organization. I think it's time to make sure that you have a plan B because of the unpredictability of Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I think it really should be something said that, hey, they should start reaching out to Atlanta, maybe, for a Kirk Cousins trade. The problem is, and the issue is, this is all the butterfly effect of Kenny Pickett. And, picking a first-round draft pick that didn't work out, that you traded to Philadelphia. Now you're trying to find the next quarterback. What a luxury it was to have Ben Roethlisberger for so long. And what we see is in teams whether it's the New York Giants or it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, when you make a late decision on your quarterback, no matter how great he is, it sets your organization back, and you have to be a high-percentage decision maker when it comes to taking that next person. They have to draft because whether it's Kirk Cousins or it's Aaron Rodgers, that's a short-term, solution. They need a long-term one. They may have to address it in the draft.
And they're in the same position that they are when they went and got Kenny Pickett. Here again in the draft, in the 20s where they got Kenny Pickett and it didn't work out. Tim, give me your thoughts. What you heard from Mike Tomlin and what should be their plan B?
Yeah, well, I would say this. If you think about what they said this offseason, they wanted to re-sign one of the quarterbacks that was there last year, so Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. Like, they were very, open about that. They didn't do that. And so it just kind of also shows their hand in terms of where they thought Aaron Rodgers was. So, Aaron Rodgers, who I've said throughout this entire process was not going to be a high priority free agent, he's now the best available option for them right now. But because of, kind of how they've shown their hand, they're not going to pay Aaron Rodgers a whole lot of money. And so Aaron is not going, at this stage of his career, is not going to go into some situation where, he's the presumed starter, but they're going to draft a quarterback relatively high because no one wants to play in that environment. So Aaron most likely is going to wait until after the draft to make sure that they don't draft, his eventual replacement potentially in the 2025 season. So, look, I'm not saying that's why Tomlin was sweating, but it might be why Tomlin was sweating. That's kind of a disastrous situation in terms of what they were planning on in the situation that they find themselves in. So, look, I think ultimately they will have to draft somebody. They probably are better off, going. Look, they're not planning on Mason Rudolph being their opening day starter. They're not. So it's either draft somebody or get Aaron there. And Aaron's not going to go there before they end up drafting somebody.
Bart, I think that's an interesting take that he's got because he's basically saying that Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to be like Kirk Cousins. He's maybe sitting back and waiting and saying, you know what, I'm going to wait until the draft and make sure y'all don't draft anybody. That way I am the only quarterback that you have.
When you're 42 years old, that can't be your outlook because we all think that maybe they hope that Nebraska and Minnesota is hoping that maybe he can get an opportunity there. And if he goes to Minnesota, what's waiting behind him? J.J. McCarthy, somebody that they took not only in the first round, but they moved up and took him early in the first round. It has to do something. He's trying to wait and play this whole thing out. We don't know what's going to happen with the Brock Purdy situation. Is they're going to extend him opportunities. And there's no need for him to rush. But if I'm Pittsburgh, I can't wait. I have to have a plan B because, even with Russell Wilson, with Justin Fields, in that division, that's not good enough. They need somebody, Kirk Cousins, or Aaron Rodgers to even be able to compete in that division with Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson because they're ahead in their program development stage. And, Pittsburgh finds themselves on that hamster wheel where they're kind of running in place. Yes, they always get to the playoffs, but they've been one and done for the last, I think, 7 attempts. So they have to make a decision. Will they be aggressive? What is their belief in Shedeur Sanders? If he continues to slip in some mock drafts, he's slipping. Will they be bold enough to move up and go get their quarterback if they see one in the draft?
Hey, Tim, what is more likely? Aaron Rodgers, you think, retiring? Aaron Rodgers playing for another squad?
Well, other than Pittsburgh, I don't see the landing spot for him other than Pittsburgh. Look, he's going to want to go somewhere and be the starter, unquestioned starter. I just would say this, I don't believe this is the Pittsburgh Steelers timeline. I believe this is Aaron Rodgers' timeline. And his timeline is prove to me that you're not going to draft a quarterback in the first round, and I'll be the Steelers quarterback. And I'm going to wait until I know that that's the case.
We'll see what happens. We'll talk more about
Cam Ward. It's great to have our quarterback, first overall pick in our hearts. Tim Hasselbeck is with us. I didn't write that. Tim starting to look like Shedeur. Possibly could fall in the draft, but then Mel has him as going 3rd overall to the Giants. If he does fall, what would be the biggest reason for that?
Really, the reason, Randy, would be he doesn't possess the elite physical skills that, typically are reserved for quarterbacks that go in the first half of the first round. Okay, he's been compared to guys like Andy Dalton or Kirk Cousins, guys that have been tremendous players in the National Football League. Both of them have over 250 touchdown passes throughout their career. They've stabilized organizations playing the quarterback position, but they weren't guys that were drafted in the first half of the first round. Kirk Cousins, a 4th rounder, Andy Dalton, a 2nd rounder. And so I think when you look at Shedeur, he knows how to play the position. He is a really good quarterback, but he doesn't have the elite skills in a game that is loaded with freak athletes across the board at nearly every position. So, look, I do think it's possible that he is not in the top half of the first round, and I believe that would be the reason for it.
All right, his showcase is later this week. Right now, league meetings are taking place, and the headline is that the Tush Push could be banned as early as tomorrow, Tim. You hear that, and you think what?
I think it's ridiculous. I really do, because, look, I understand it's not an exciting play, but the Philadelphia Eagles and the Buffalo Bills, to an extent, have become really good at it. Other people have tried it. And so I actually believe that it's a personnel as well as ability and game planning advantage to teams that are good at it. So, to take it out of the game when other teams aren't nearly as successful at it as a few teams, because they have strong quarterbacks or really strong, offensive linemen that do a good job of getting momentum and getting movement. To me, it seems like a punishment, quite honestly, to the teams that have invested into people that are good at it. Look at it. The Kansas City Chiefs don't even run quarterback sneaks because they want to protect their quarterback. It's a difference. There are some teams that have their tight end take the snap in some of the short yardage situations for a quarterback sneak. It's a personnel issue, in terms of the advantage that can be gained by doing it. And so I don't think it's something that the league should get involved with in terms of banning.
All right, the ban would have to have support from 24 owners in voting to be approved. We'll see if they get that. That's Tim Hasselbeck. Thank you, sir.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Ngày hôm nay mình sẽ tiếp tục hướng dẫn các bạn tô tượng. Hôm nay tượng của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là người nhện. Mọi người, hôm nay tượng của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là thủy thủ. Bây giờ mình sẽ bắt đầu làm nhé. Gặp là mình tô màu tím.